Going live. And we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hey, folks.
Welcome to BLOGCHAT.
Hello.
Hey.
Please say hello in the comments. We'd love to see who's here with us tonight. Sorry, we got a little bit of a late start, but, we were pouring eggnog. So there was some left over.
Nice.
Eggnog.
I didn't get to get any. There was eggnog in the house, and somehow I missed my opportunity. Maybe I was thinking about what to mix it with, whiskey or rum. What are your thoughts?
Rum is traditional, right?
Right.
Heavy
But
cream.
whiskey, I mean,
Can't never go wrong with that.
exactly. Let us know your comments. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Yes. Yeah. What do you mix in your eggnog? So here we are gathered tonight to talk about the end of 2020. And isn't that lovely?
Yes.
Yes. Thank goodness.
So 2 more days. 1.5, really. 1.5. So we have some people checking in. Hello.
Hello, Martha.
Hey, Martha.
Hey, Martha.
Steven.
I don't understand what the emoji is. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
I know what the emoji is. And then Peoria. Hey, nice. Snowy Chicago. Fantastic. We got some lake effect snow flowing through Catskill today. So makes me think of you. And
Let the fun begin.
Oh, yay. All right. We got a slightly new look tonight. This is good. So we're doing one of our favorite posts, which is also one of our least favorite posts, in that the preparation for this is so brutal. Having to choose just 2 images from everything that we shot this year is quite hard, even in a year where you might have shot less.
Much less.
A tough process to choose just 2 of your children and say you're the best. Everybody look at you. So I had a tough time choosing this year. And I chose differently than any other year, at least topic-wise. It definitely reflected what I was thinking. So, but I think Chris is going to kick it off. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to take a look at what Chris shared, and he's going to engage in story time with us.
Oh dear.
Yeah. This is not easy. I mean, both photos I picked, I also could have not picked and chosen something else. In fact, I was just joking with somebody. It was like the day before we were wrapping up the blog post that the trick for me is that once I put something in the no pile, don't look at it again, because suddenly 5 things end up back in the yes pile. This just drives me absolutely crazy. And Matt, I think you hit the nail on the head, trying to, pick your 2 favorite children, I just, there's different photos you like for different reasons, right? And I think like the 2 I picked for this, if you asked me 2 weeks later, I might have picked 2 different ones, just of what's resonating for me at the time. But the first one was from Monhegan Island of Comet Neowise, which, you could argue probably was the best night sky story of the year. In a year where there were a few good ones, we had a couple of good meteor showers and the conjunction, and but the comet really, it lit up the sky, but it lit up the news feeds too, right? And lit up everybody's Instagram feed. And I think part of it for sure was that it was a really cool thing to shoot. But part of it too was the timing of it. It was right as people were starting to go outside again this year. It was the first workshop we'd been able to do since COVID started. It was really the first time people were traveling, and they were doing so tentatively. And for night photographers, just kind of getting outside, and we just got this gift from the heavens, right? Nobody really knew this was coming until a couple weeks before. Comets are so hard to predict. We know when they're coming around the sun, and we know when maybe we can see them, but it seems like, 49 times out of 50, we hear a comet's coming and then we can't see anything. And in this case, we didn't even know it was possible until 2 weeks before. And I think most people who heard it was possible kind of just wrote it off because we've heard, Wolf cried before. And then bang, it was just there. You started to see photos trickling in from people who were up pre-sunrise because that's when you could first see it. And then when our workshop started we did 2 back-to-back workshops in Maine, and the first one was the Mid-Coast region, and it was the first night of that workshop. That was the first night that you could see it at the beginning of the night instead of at the end of the night, before sunrise. And we were pretty excited, and we did see it. It was visible for only a little bit of time before it set, like at the end of twilight. We weren't in a great place to shoot it, but all of a sudden it became the holy grail of the week. That's what everybody wanted to shoot. The second workshop we did in Maine was the following week, and we started on Monhegan Island. This is a total coincidence. I'm wearing this. And then we went to Acadia.
Another coincidence. Another coincidence.
It is and it isn't, right? I love these places. But yeah, so we're on Monhegan Island, and that's when the comet really was in all its glory, because it was up for enough time to really work with it before it set. So you'd just start seeing it like at the end of twilight, and then you'd get a couple of hours to work with it before it was gone. So that's when the comet photography really started happening. And this photo is from one of those nights. Lance and I had been on Monhegan Island for 2 nights alone before the workshop started. And then this is on the second night with the group. And this is toward the end of the night. If you've ever been to Monhegan, you'll know what I mean. It's the kind of place that it
Sorry, babe.
it inspires people to go their separate ways.
Okay.
Because it's, you're on an island. You're on an island without cars. Everything is in walking distance. So the first night of the workshop, the group kind of stayed together, and the second night it was like 12 people shooting in 12 spots. And I was going between a couple of the spots when I spotted this. It was along a trail it was on the east side of the island, I think. It was really quiet. Everything's dark. There's like hardly any light on the island. And I saw this scene that I thought would make a good photo, and I came back like an hour later, and the comet had kind of drifted to where I thought it was good compositionally. I was playing with Sequitur that week. I was playing with a couple of things, that and Move, Shoot, Move. But this particular photo I did with Sequitur because I wanted to get something that looked like it was shot with low ISO. And I shot 16 frames of this and then stacked them in Sequitur later. But for me, what I really loved about this, I didn't see it until the next morning, is if you look in the window, there's somebody with their head on the pillow sleeping. And to me, it just told this story. We've got this amazing astronomical event happening right out the window. And I don't know, I just felt that there was a lot going on in this photo that interested me. So altogether, this just kind of, to me, it's a very peaceful image that also tells a story about a lot that happens this year in our society and personally in my life. So that's why I picked it.
Awesome shot.
Stunning.
Thanks.
Stunning.
Yeah. I bet you Lance would mention that, the guy sleeping or the person sleeping there, that kind of, at least it reminds me of that Steve Harper, of sleeping,
Oh, yeah.
From the opposite side, right? With the window looking out, right? So it's kind of, when you mentioned that in that window, the sort of the solitude, the quietness, the dreaminess of that, I think also resonates, and it's a nice sort of flip of the coin on that picture, if you're familiar with that picture. So kudos to that. Also, I like the black and white. We didn't see many black and white, interpretations of Neowise, and I thought that was a nice choice.
Thanks. Yeah, that was, I saw that in black and white from the beginning. And I wish I could remember why. I know there was a lot of color going on because you can see that light in the background. That's the coast. That's the main coast of Maine, the Maine coast. and you know, so there was some funky colors going on back there. And if you see the color version of this, the light coming from the window was very warm. And so to me, there was too much color going on. And I in that moment, I felt like it should be a black and white photo. And I think it was the right choice because it's, I don't know, to me, it kind of feels timeless, which black and white certainly contributes to. But that's an interesting point about the Steve Harper photo. I hadn't thought of that. And Lance has told me he likes this image a lot. And I wonder if he's made that connection.
Right, yeah.
If not consciously, he had to have subconsciously made it because I know Steve in that photo mean a lot to Lance.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like through the looking glass, it's just like Gabe said, it's the other side of that experience. And you can see it's meta and macro at the same time. It's,
the funny thing is, if I had seen whoever was sleeping while I was there, I probably wouldn't have shot the image because I would have felt like I was intruding, you know. But it's one of those long exposure magic moments, you know, where you don't see what was happening until you're back on the computer.
Right. Well, here's another magic moment from Chris.
Yeah, you know, I wish I had the same kind of story for this one. But this one was a little more straightforward. I had never been to Alabama Hills or Mobius Arch before, and I didn't even think I was going to get a chance to shoot it that night, honestly, because we were with a group. You know, we had a workshop there, and I knew that was the star location, and everybody was going to want to shoot there. You know, and I just kind of wrote it off, honestly. You know, and I just spent the evening walking into the group and spread out probably about a half-mile circumference throughout the rock formations, and you know, I was just kind of wandering all night, as was Tim, from, you know, group to group. And then at the end of the night, there were 2 women left out of the whole group. And you know, they wanted to come shoot the arch, and I went for the walk with them. And the 3 of us just kind of closed out the night for about an hour there shooting, just each doing our own thing. And I had this idea. I saw the composition in daylight of getting kind of the boulder through the arch. And then the moon was coming down, and so I was just trying to capture the moon right at the edge, which is hard, right? Because you're doing a 20-second exposure, and you know, the moon is moving a little bit during that time. So between every shot, I had to move the tripod, you know, as I'm getting the composition right and the light painting right and all that. So it's not like I could take a shot and then just fix something, because I had to fix the position of the tripod too. And eventually I got it. You know, this was, you know, what I was hoping for. So I guess it's just one of those moments where I had an idea in mind, and I was able to pull off what was in my head, which is always satisfying as an artist, right? And the funny thing is, this photo wasn't really on my radar until toward the end of the year when I started reviewing my images. And I certainly remembered shooting it. But I didn't pay attention to it much at the time. It was just later that I said, you know, I really like how that one came out. So, yeah, like I said, I wish I had more of a story for that one.
No, I think it was great. It's one of those perfect times when, you know, like the 11mm lens is a very special lens. But
yeah,
it was a problem solver in this situation, right?
It was. And you know what, Matt, that's actually a good point. That is the story of this for me personally as a photographer, because that IREX 11 is a really great lens that I hardly ever used. And so this summer, once I got back on the road, it was really after Maine. It wasn't until Tim and I were doing the workshops in the fall that I made a point to put the 11 on the camera and find ways to use it. Because I've always thought of it as a problem-solving lens, like you said, where I hardly ever shot it, but when that's the lens I needed, it's the only one that would do. And that's fine, but I wanted to find reasons to use it instead of working the other way around. Like I wanted to flip that model. So I was shooting with 2 cameras a lot this year, and I would put the 11 on one of them, which to me is a really good way to put yourself in the mindset of seeing with that. You put it on the camera, and all of a sudden I start seeing that way. And so that's what happened here. You know, it was, I had kind of gotten used to using the 11, and I knew it was the only way to get this shot. It was because in order to get the moon where I wanted, I had to get close because of the angle, and the 11 was the only thing that was going to work. So yeah, it's a great lens, really sharp lens, easy to focus, but it can be a challenge to use. And here it helps solve a challenge for me.
I gotta say that Mobius is obviously right the highlight of Alabama Hills, and now Matt also quick segue. You're the only one who hasn't gone to Alabama Hills, so we gotta get you there. Chris was the second to last, and he got this great shot because Mobius is just always shot with the Milky Way. Always shot in the Milky Way. So it's just like it's so refreshing to see a shot that not only uses the moonlight but also incorporates the moon. And I really like. I don't know if you could spend a minute or two just talking, because that light coming through is a mixture of light painting and moon. We get a little of that moonlight bounce as well too.
Funny you mentioned that, because we got a question on
that. All right.
There is light painting. Yeah, and actually I'm glad you asked it, because if there was one thing I would have wanted to do differently on this photo is to make the light painting, the added light, a little cooler. Because seeing this in hindsight, I wish that the light matched better. But the thing I've been trying to go for lately, the last couple of years, is light painting that kind of blends in with the natural light. But that said, I mean, I still like how it came out. I could pick my favorite photo I've ever shot and tell you what's wrong with it. So, but yeah, so the light that's on. Sorry.
I think we all could do that.
Yeah. Well, you should, right? Otherwise, you just stop as an artist. So the light that's on the bottom of the rock is moonlight. The light, and you can imagine this, right? Now that I'm pointing it out, because there's no way for the moon to be hitting the light up on the bottom of the arch. So that light is coming from behind. If you've ever been to Mobius, you know that, I mean, there's plenty of room back there to stand and light up. Like I didn't have to do any calisthenics to pull that off. But the light coming up on the bottom of the arch is added, and the light that's on the rock face that's moonlight coming through the archway.
Looks like bounce light to me, Chris. I think you're all good. It's just bouncing right up.
It's bouncing
right up.
Okay.
He used his 6-foot white card to redirect the moonlight.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
awesome.
Gabe was saying that, we've all been to Mobius except for Matt. And the thing is, I was there the same night that Chris was. And your photograph is 100 times better than mine. I wish that was my photograph. It's a beautiful shot, man.
Oh, thanks. I'd probably say the same about your photo if I saw yours. Tim, you know what? I don't know if you remember, I shot you that night shooting Mobius Arch. And that was really close to being one of my favorite photos of the year, except I thought it would make a good ebook cover someday. So I didn't want to show it to anybody.
Nice.
It's funny.
How our minds work, huh?
Yeah.
Gabe, you're up next, man. This is the most watercolory image that I've seen in a long time.
Well, before we get to the picture, I gotta say, hold on, Matt. Before we get to the picture, I gotta say that somehow Chris and I, without planning it, both are wearing T-shirts from the first picture that we're going to show tonight. Again, totally by chance. This was in my chest of drawer. I pulled it out. I said, "Oh, it's an N-Pan shirt. That's good. We're doing our N-Pan tonight." And then lo and behold, I didn't know we were doing this whole theme. So yeah. Tim's going to change into his shirt right now. Right? Okay, gotcha.
Well, Gabe, your second photo is from Brooklyn. Are you drinking out of a Brooklyn mug?
Let me go get the bottle of my Brooklyn whiskey.
I lost my water bottle too. Oh. And the drum roll, please.
All right, drum roll now. Yes.
Gabe, how do you pronounce this properly?
What?
Norway.
No. Udacleve Beach. So
okay,
this is
I just call it beautiful.
Nice, yeah. This was so magical. I mean, I only got to go on one. Well, I was fortunate enough for B&H. I got to travel a few places before lockdown happened, but I really only got to teach one workshop. And if I had to pick one, this definitely would have been the one to go on, and I was just so fortunate that everything worked out and we were able to go, that then when we left, we were like, it was still like totally not actually in our head. It was in our heads a little bit, started to, will it come to America? This, that. And then while we were there, at the end, we kind of like, should we leave early? No. And we all voted no. And then we all had to make a vote if we'd ever go back home because we fell in love with Lofoten so much. And what I will say is the weather, is a challenge, here, just like Iceland can giveth and taketh away. And the same is for Lofoten. And we were there for 9 days and nights. And we basically had, I think, one night of auroras, unfortunately, but what a night it was. And the weather forecast, we had been to Utrecht Beach, which we loved, and we knew this was one of the best spots to witness it because for me, the first time you had maybe some water to play with if you could run down to the beach, but you had like mountains in the background. You had water reflecting. Not all the time do we get to see the aurora glow, turn the water green, and all this other fun stuff that, typically I was looking at a lot of my aurora shots are, from Iceland and usually, with a little bit of that dramatic landscape, but I haven't experienced it on the water. So I was really kind of excited to bring the group here. And this is one of my favorite locations. And we had scouted and really spent the whole day there, because you could spend days there. And so we wanted to really experience the place during the day. And I said, really look for your shots, what you want. And that way we'll be familiar when we go back when it's dark. We went back, we had dinner, and the forecast was there was going to be a 1 hour window of auroras that night. And we're like, but it was a high KP, it was a KP of 4. And there was a 1 hour window. And I'm like, oh man, a 1 hour window. And do I really trust weathermen or forecasters? It's like, that's not, so I was like, fingers crossed, this is going to happen. And I have never experienced a weather forecast, and maybe it's the Norwegians with their website that does it, or app that does it, but they were on the money. We get there at like 15, 20 minutes before the auroras are going to start. And it is like, where are the auroras going to come out of? Because we are souped in with clouds. And lo and behold, we're kind of walking around, and all of a sudden a little peak comes out, a little like Johnny kicked a hole in the sky, starts to happen. And then all of a sudden it just totally opens up, and the waves of auroras just start erupting. And we were just still at the top of the beach, and we just all like, no matter what compositions you had thought about or working on, you're like, obviously you always follow the wave, you ride the wave. You're like a surfer, right? With aurora shooting. And so you ride the wave, you point towards what, where the best action is happening. And lo and behold, it was, kind of going over the waterfront. And I shot fairly wide. I think this is the 14 to 30 lens, shot at 17 millimeter. So just taking it all in. And I just let it rip. And then I was just so excited. And I was so excited. So many of our attendees, I think it was like 80% of them hadn't seen the auroras before. And that is just like, you do the happy aurora dance once it happens, right? You're like, this is all going on. And we all got that. And everyone was like full of smiles and just, and then they go like, well, I got a shot. Okay, all right, let me focus, make sure I'm focused, and all this stuff. And then an hour exactly, the cops came back and said, you're done. And that was that. I was like, I could not believe it. But what an amazing time. I was able to, I basically did this shot and as well as the sort of time lapse of this area. And then I got a fun group shot, of the whole group, because that's sort of I guess it's been my thing a little bit now, is like, I kind of get bored sometimes after I get that shot, and then I want to take pictures of people experiencing the auroras. And I did that in Iceland, and then we did a group shot, which I was really, really excited about there. And super fun, amazing highlight of the year to just experience that and have that. And that experience, like any Aurora experience, but more so this year than ever, it carried me through. You know, like 5 days later, we're home. We like kind of come back through, you know, desolate airplane, desolate, only ones on the airplane, and, you know, desolate airports. And we come back to this lockdown and everything, we're quarantined and all this kind of stuff. And all of our creativity kind of got zapped. But thank goodness, I had these 3,000, Lofoten images to just kind of take me away a little bit from all of it, and just I could play with it, live it, relive it. And that lasted for a good 2 to 3 months, of it, and it just made me so happy. I know it made so many of the other people on that trip. It's like, wow, at least we have this, and we still have a WhatsApp, going on from that group that we still are chatting on, and we're just all wishing each other, happy holidays and what we're doing and stuff like that. And it was really, really an incredibly bonding. These international trips, especially, are so bonding because we're spending all the time together, right? And so we're living, drinking, eating, photography. Great friendships are made. And hopefully experiences. And I definitely was the highlight, of a very introspective, year. So so
brings you back to New York City.
Which brings it back. So we were talking about like choosing from all the images. And I'm like, yeah, Chris is like telling us to write this silver lining of our best images, and I'm like, Chris, you have some images. I just show a couple of Lofoten images. You want to, maybe my long exposures. It's like there hasn't been a lot of action going on. I think I have 50,000 images a year, and I think this year it was 10,000 images, and half of them were from Norway. But I took a step back, and this image, so that is a film shot from 2 weeks ago, and it reminded me, the runner-up was actually another film shot from a night walk I did in January with Klaus and this guy Marco, and we went to Red Hook, and Red Hook is an area, it's a neighborhood of mine in Brooklyn that I love. Just a lot of people got to go out to parks and maybe explore and get outside. I was cooped up so much in Brooklyn, and my getting out was doing a little night walk because it was like so quiet at night. The restaurants, everything closed. So my night under the stars was actually under the street lights and lamp lights of this timeless sort of Brooklyn, New York, whatever you want to call it. But I felt kind of like Versailles, in Paris in the 20s and 30s, because I wouldn't see anybody at night. And it's like I had this whole, it's like kind of like when we go to national parks and we're the only person at the Grand Canyon. I felt, here I am in a city of, maybe it's not 8 million, maybe it's only 6 million right now, but I have the whole place to myself. And Red Hook is full of cobblestones and old school, sort of architecture, and actually one of the more desolate parts of Brooklyn because there's no public transportation goes to. But that bridge, the Summit Bridge, which I took a picture of, this bridge is the connector between my neighborhood and the other, and Red Hook. It goes over the infamous Brooklyn Queens Expressway, and I've walked this over thousands of times, but I always kind of walk quickly. And the sodium vapor lights are just like really gaseous and really hard to deal with. And I was actually shooting with my Z6 and my Mamiya 7. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just doubling down on the Mamiya 7 right there. I got the exposure off the Z6 and then just like went full force with the Mamiya 6. And I liked this composition. Look at that stairway I used Fuji Acros 100 film, which is the absolute best black and white film for night photography. And I believe, Matt, can you tell me, I believe this was an 8-minute exposure, but do I have on was it?
30 seconds.
Or 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I think that might be wrong, but I'll have to check the metadata on the film. Wait a minute. it was a little longer, I think, than 30 seconds, but that was it was so much. It was just a wonderful thing to witness, and also kind of for me full circle, because again, I got back into film this year more than anything, and I started the year on this little film shoot to Red Hook, which I had a fun time with, and I was like, you know what? When Chris was like, you still have time to get some stuff in. I'm like, okay. I got a couple that I'm thinking about, but I was like, let me just take one more walk down a familiar neighborhood, a familiar place, and see if there's anything else out there that's kind of talking to me. And there was the Summit Bridge. So, it's proving that, finding things closer to home, which was, I think, a common theme for so many of us, that if you couldn't go on trips or you couldn't have adventures, finding that what's in your backyard, and whether that's the literal backyard or, a backyard like that Brooklyn or some other city can offer you, is kind of what helped you and gave you some sort of sense of sanity and kept you creative.
Gabe, this reminds me of the first time you and I went out shooting together.
Yeah,
You
69th Street.
One of your favorite locations with me, 69th Street Transfer Bridge, and I had the Mamiya 7 too.
Yeah,
and I shot. I'm going to flash it briefly.
Yeah,
This is one of my favorite night photographs still that I've ever shot, but it's about the film, and it's about the long exposure, and film is just totally different, and I'm so glad you went back to those roots.
Yeah,
I love this.
Hold on, wait a minute. I just got back from 2 weeks in Pittsburgh. Hold on, where is it? Oh, I've got. Wait,
how many
hold
rolls?
on. I dropped 2 rolls, but I've got five rolls of 120 that need to be developed in here, and 5 rolls of 35 down there, and 2 on the floor. So I'm back. I'm ready to go. Stay tuned for a film blog in the new year. There we go, Chris. I said it.
Yay.
Hold me to it.
You got it.
Nice. Nice. Well, we have Lance was caught up with something, so his images are next in the blog post. The first one was a shot from Portland, where this is I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm going to just talk about what I love about Lance. This is classic Lance taking care of the beauty of things urban and human and discarded, and industrialism, there's this separation that's going on here. I'm not even going to think about the words that he wrote. I'm going to see what I see in this. The separation that don't go there, but there's a little bit of openness, but it's behind layers, and there's a lot of patterns going on here, but there's definitely a stay out attitude going on here and beautiful shadows. I have a fond hope that Lance will show up and perhaps talk about this. So,
it's an interesting point about this. He took this in Portland, and he was out in Portland for a really good friend of his, and I don't know if a lot of our viewers know him, but it's Tom Pava, the brother to Troy Pava, and I think a lot of more people are familiar with Troy Pava. Tom, this is almost like an ode to Tom, if you ask me. Tom's done so many industrial night shots with 4x5 cameras on film. In fact, he just like his last project was documenting the new Bay Bridge in San Francisco. So for me, when I see this and knowing what that he was out there for Tom's birthday, and it was a big momentous event, and he just maybe happened upon this, but this is a Lance shot. You look at the shot, it's like Lance. That is Lance. Yeah. But it also, I feel it's Lance with a little bit of Tom, lighting it up a little bit, as a little ode to him. So I love the shadows. The shadows.
That looks like the RV that we took to Chaco back there. You were saying, Tim?
Well, I think this shot perfectly exemplifies Lance in that it's natural, simple, and yet complex. And that's the way I kind of see Lance's work. It looks like it's effortless, but it's really not. And it's usually pretty simple and easy to read, but it's got that level of complexity that allows you to just kind of look at it for a very long period of time and not get bored. Which very simple images that can happen with. And so yeah,
the way he treated these colors, so that muted, obviously the 4:4 tells us it's full frame digital, but this could have easily been a film 4:5 shot with those same kind of color tones and look to it, I think too. Yeah,
True. And stop down so much that you get the starburst. Yep. So Gabe, we got a question from Martha. I'm going to use as a segue, and we can all say hello to Theo on the bottom edge there. Do you still have a dark room?
hey Theo.
Yeah, it's right there on the floor. I developed my own black and white film. I have the chemicals and everything for that, and then actually right behind me, let's see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the enlarger. The enlarger doesn't get that much look at it. Matt, your hat is on top of the enlarger.
Hey,
the Manta Ray hat. Yeah, exactly right. My hat that you gave me. So what I enjoy, part of the reason why I always loved film, and I enjoyed really coming back to it is the process. It is a process, but I kind of enjoy the process. As you're clicking shutter, you're like, oh, I've got this little precious thing that's saved for me for later, and then you've got to milk it out. And I've got this Joe processor that does it for you, and that's really cool. And then I scan them, though I will admit that I'm going to be doing some testing. I've done some initial testing, and I've got the V750 flatbed scanner, but I think that you can get actually better information just by setting up your digital camera to then take pictures of the negative, like on a Kaiser light box or something like that. So
yep. I'm going to loan you one of those, Gabe.
Yep. So that's where I'm going. I don't know. The scanner is kind of that's the weak link. So much dust, this, that, the high maintenance of it. It seems like we're much easier built to take those pictures, take those negatives and digitally, and then bring them back in. So
24 megapixels is enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. Moving on. Thank you for answering Martha's question, Gabe. Chris, would you mind talking a little bit to Lance's other image? I believe you two were together for this.
Yeah, I was about 10 feet away from him when we shot this. So this was one of the Comet nights. In fact, this was the first night that we were in Acadia with the group. And, our shoot that night was to shoot the Comet over Jordan Pond, which we did. But we had also scouted out, not that it involved heavy scouting. You could shoot the Milky Way from Eagle Lake up on the North Shore and get this beautiful background. You get the North Bubble in the background, and I forget the name of the ridge up there. But it's a beautiful spot to shoot. And so that was going to be location B for the night. And it's what we did. And we got up there to find that the lake was just perfectly still. I mean, it was like, there was just a sheet of glass over the water. And so that became the shot, of just getting the reflection of the Milky Way. It's not all that usual to find a body of water that you can get a reflection of the Milky Way in that's that still. And that's what we had. So that's what people were shooting. And this was toward the end of the night. Like I said, it was only about 10 feet away. I was working on some stuff with the move, shoot, move, just seeing if I could capture the reflection with that. I have to process that photo someday. And Lance, I didn't even know he was shooting, honestly. And then, I saw the photo the next day. I didn't know he was shooting, and he was developing a masterpiece. That's very much the experience of working with Lance, right? Everything's just kind of quiet, and you're chatting, and then he's got some, portfolio piece out of it. It's really incredible the way that he could do that. I've shot Eagle Lake 25 times, and I never saw this composition. And I love it. I love it. It looks like Eagle Lake, but it doesn't look like any photo I've seen shot there. He did a fantastic job at this. He did not use the move, shoot, move, or sequitur or anything like that for this. I know that it's 2 exposures. He's got a Milky Way exposure, and then a long low ISO exposure for the foreground. Actually, I could be incorrect about that. Looking at the reflection, what did he say?
Yeah.
No, it was just a pano. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was the photo at Jordan Pond where he did the foreground.
Yeah. Many megapixels.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I gotta say that we were supposed to go to Eagle Lake together on the first NPAD workshop that got pretty much rained out and turned into a daytime workshop except for the last night. But and you were raving about Eagle Lake, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is a great location and really, really cool, and it's great to see it." And what a different, right? I mean, I think you look at that shot, like, wow, why did he have all the rocks and the weeds and everything? It's kind of messing with it. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Because I think all of us would have been like walking down, the lake to find the perfect reflection, the perfect uninterrupted reflection, right?
That's what I was doing. Yep.
Exactly. And he just said, you know what? I'm going to really marry, land and sky together, and he just did it really perfectly.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to. It's really interesting when you know a location so well that you don't see it anymore, right? I mean, that Lance had not shot there before, and here but he's got this ability to see through the obvious shot, that everybody else was doing, including me, who's shot Acadia 15 times, and and he just nailed it. He's just so good at what he does. Pretty unparalleled, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's continue with the Lance parade, and we're going to jump over to one of my images.
Right, you hear us raving about his images. This is how he feels about them.
So his intervalometer broke. He's counting to 3,000.
We were out on the Playa racetrack, and you can see there's even people in the background back here. We were all spread out, probably sometimes as much as half a mile apart from each other, just really out there. And I had 2 camera setups. One of them, I believe, was the one that's behind him. And the other one, I was walking around, and I was hoping to grab some portraits. And this was one of my portraits before the one that I thought I loved the best. But upon reflection at the end of the year, I decided that I liked this one the best. And what really drew me to this when I was looking through the catalog from this year was, we're just thinking about silver linings, the pensiveness that we've had. This, as I described in the blog post, this was a nice wrap up of what was to come. It was a dollop of foreshadowing, because Death Valley was a challenge for all of us, and we were all there. And there's just disasters that happened. I mean, literal disasters. The windstorm that took out power for 3 or 4 days, and then all the good food that we bought was rotting in the fridge that we couldn't open, and it's just thing after thing, and then stuff with the hotel and all this other stuff. So this image for me, it was at the end of the workshop, was we were all very resilient, but we were all have limits, right? And I think at this point, Lance just had a moment where he was enjoying himself, but he was also just like taking a breath.
Yeah.
and I forget. I don't remember whether it was direction to ask him to step out or not. But the 60% opacity that he has, I really am enchanted with that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that there's that sense of a little bit of ghostiness. I broke the cardinal rule. I put his head right at the horizon. I don't care. I still love the image. And I think that it makes me think and remember one of the high points of the year for me, and then the fucking roller coaster after that. So yeah, thank you, Lance, for setting for this. The other one he literally sat underneath his tripod inside the pyramid of power. That other portrait I like very much too. And that was more staged, but this was like he was actually just like chilling out near his camera. He didn't know I was taking the picture. So, which is one of my favorite portrait techniques, is don't tell people that you're shooting a test. You know, you're just like, oh, I'm just setting up my camera. Just hold on. You know, like, and you take a couple of pictures there when they're unguarded. Love those pictures. So,
Nice.
yeah. And strangely enough, I have never done this in the history of NPAN. My second picture, I wasn't cheating, is a diptych. I didn't try and get 3 pictures into this. But upon, again, cataloging through this, I really wanted to, see, I've been exploring through the Night Paper Project how people are with masks and how people are with clothing that's not clothing, and how I can create shadow and not shadow highlights and things that move kinetically with the wind and light and all of these things coming together with time bending. And then the other Blue Hour shot on the other side was just doing a demonstration of light painting and light writing. And I didn't flip these images. She was facing opposite directions, and I wanted them to relate to each other. So I put them together, and then I really sat with it, and I realized that there's something to learn, because Molly and I had been talking about working together for a while, and she's a very thoughtful, empathetic human, and an artist and a fellow photographer too, and more than willing to participate in the making of art and in the helping of other humans. And she had a lot on her mind because she was dealing with a lot of social justice issues at the time, especially the Black Lives Matter movement. And she's done a lot of activism. And the fact that she took time out of doing things that were honestly more important than art to make art with me was really an honor that she chose to do that. And these two are from the same shoot, you know, the Blue Hour, and then but we spent the time to make these portraits together, and I think that her strength is the most important thing that shows through. She addresses the camera with confidence, and yet I got to add all of the other craft that I wanted to add into this to try and lend my interpretation of what a portrait is, to try and draw out the qualities that I see in Molly. So, but yeah, there it is. For me, a first this year, showing portraits only, not any epic landscapes, because really, to me, that this year was about people, you know, and whether you were with them or without them. That's 2020 was about people. So
super powerful, Matt. Especially the one on the right, and great use of the warm light band. That the perfect band is like what a wonderful complement of contrast to the other dress and the color, the blue twilight colors going on. That is just, yeah, I definitely get the strength, the power, the confidence, you know. And then you have this sort of like the energy, the other sort of artistic energy, the creative, spontaneous energy, you know, on the other side too. So I think a perfect complement. I'd love to see. This is a great idea, and it could be. I'm thinking it could be the beginning of a part 2 series here, or 2 parts.
I'm feeling through. Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling through.
You know, Matt, I was actually kind of surprised to see. I was surprised to see you submit the diptych in color. I mean, I'm just so accustomed to
this is the first year
the
without
paper
black and
project
white.
being in black and white. But
Yeah. Well, I have been working on
Yeah.
color strong for 2 years, so it was. Yeah, it was. Thank you. I feel kind of weak in black and white now because I haven't been processing a lot of them.
Silver effects is what you want to use, Matt.
You know, Lightroom's getting pretty strong with black and white processing. Digging it. Yeah. So, Tim, thanks for the compliment, and for that, you're up next.
Oh dear. Well, you know, I mean, I got to be honest. You know, I feel so incredibly fortunate. You know, both Chris and I got out a lot. We got out a lot in the fall. Chris, what was it? 4 workshops we did? Was it 4?
Yeah,
3 or 4?
I think so. I know it was an intense schedule.
Yeah.
But nice too.
Yeah, I mean, it was so nice. I mean, Chris and I were in Colorado and California and, you know, in Yellowstone. And it was amazing after such a long period of time being at home to get out, you know. And I have to say it was a little strange having workshops, you know, and stuff with masks on. But it was a real pleasure to finally be out again, you know. And so from that experience, I actually came away with several images that I really like. I wouldn't say I came away with great images, but I would say that I came away with several images that I really liked. And, you know, and this is one of them. This was sort of one of those preconceived and pre-planned shots. Chris and I had brought the group up to Excelsior Basin, or no, not Excelsior. It was, well, shoot, I actually can't remember where it is right now, but Chris will chime in. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. And as we were walking up, I saw a car come by through the steam. And I thought, oh my God, I know what's up ahead, but this is tremendous. And I have got to capture this. And so, you know, we went on about our business, and Chris and I were walking the grounds and we're working with everybody. And eventually, eventually everybody took off and went home, as they do. And I went back down there and I thought, okay, I'm gonna really go for this image. But by this time of the night, there was no moonlight left, and it was sort of a difficult shot to make. What I'm showing here is exactly what I envisioned, which doesn't always come out, right? You guys, you know how you envision a shot, and then whatever may come of it, it may turn out the way you like, or turn out differently, you know, or you post process it in a way that changes it around. But this is actually pretty much exactly what I saw. But in order to get it, it was not simple. It was not an easy shot to get, because when I exposed for the steam, the sky was completely black. So in order to get all that lovely detail, that shadowing, the light rays kind of coming up, the sky was rendered completely black. So what I did was I waited for no cars to come through, which was not difficult. It was probably, at this point, 2:00 in the morning or something, or, in Yellowstone at night, and just waited for the steam to really lay low. And I took a shot just like you would for the Milky Way, star point 6,400, 2.8. And I thought, okay, this is great. I'm pretty sure that was Jupiter. And it was glowing really big. And so then I sat and I waited, and I waited for some cars to come through. But the thing is that, just because the car is coming through does not necessarily mean the steam is doing the right thing. Could all be off to one side or something like that. And so, God, you guys, I have no idea. I mean, I probably shot 15 different shots of cars coming through. And as you can imagine, that's quite a bit of waiting time for cars to come through, at this time of night. And what's that, Chris?
Oh yeah, you said it, at 2 in the morning. If you were shooting this at 10:30 at night, you could have shot 15 shots in 7 minutes.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I waited.
Yeah. but I waited and I persevered, and I finally came up with this. And this is one of those shots that I don't often love to make because it's a little bit, in some ways, it's a little bit false. I mean, this is exactly what I saw in my mind, but that the different parts of steam there are probably formed by about 6 or 7 different images, because at no one point did the cars coming through the steam illuminate the whole foreground and put out these, nearly perfect rays going in all the different directions. And so the foundation of it is mainly one photograph of the steam, but then I added other bits of other steam photographs into it. So while it's not entirely true or accurate to reality, it is what I saw and what I imagined and what I wanted to create. So for me, that was one of the reasons that I really like this image, because we don't often get that. We don't often get exactly, what we want. So yeah, it was a lovely night, and I just thought it was really different. We're so accustomed to different types of photography that working with backlit steam against the night sky, it was a real challenge, and it was really fun playing with. And I had to do a lot of things, change the white balance of the steam, change the white balance of the sky to make them look more natural. The steam was actually much more yellow from the cars coming through, so I had to dial back that saturation to give it a more of a light, ethereal look. So this image is pretty heavy, on the post-processing. And but I like it. Yeah, I like it.
When Chris and I were at Devil's Tower and we were shooting the lightning that last evening, I think a lot of people ended up making composites of that. So I have a lot of empathy for you. I understand completely about, saying this actually happened versus this is what I crafted. I love the image.
Right.
You got what you wanted.
Thanks, Matt.
Hurrah. Yeah.
There's also a difference between artificially creating something that's possible versus something that's impossible. So Tim, your photo, even though you might have needed 6 different frames to create it, that was a possible moment. If you had waited 3 nights to shoot it and kept going back, I mean, you would have gotten the steam the way you wanted. So it wasn't impossible,
Right. Right. I think in a way, I remember a very, very long time ago when I first started into digital, I was watching Jean-Paul Caponegro, and he was talking about doing a shot where he left his camera set up and he shot it at sunset, then he shot it at dusk, and then also shot it at night. And I always loved that idea. I was always so inspired by that idea because it goes back to what Gabriel was talking about and Matt were talking about earlier with film. It was like, when we were shooting with film, we had certain restrictions to what we could do, and even though we could envision it, it might not come out, and then digital sort of opened up this whole brand new thing. And the images that I saw of John Paul's were very natural looking. They weren't like over the top crazy composites. And I thought, I like this sort of natural looking composite that could be real, but is actually playing with time. And so I remember him talking about playing with time, whatever, 15, 20 years ago, or however
Did
long
you
ago
just give me the perfect segue to your next image, Tim? I think you did.
Oh, I may have. I may have. Huh.
Would you look at that?
Yes, playing with time, and exactly what I did here. And I just now noticed that my sorry, you guys have been seeing I've been having problems here this evening, and my iPods are now going dead. So what I'm going to do is plug in my phone here, and I'm going to have to go manual. So I apologize for that, everybody.
Let's look at this beautiful image in the meantime.
And
the Silky Way. Silky.
The Silky Way.
The Silky Way. Who was that, Matt? Was that you that came up with that term, the Silky Way?
I think it was a student, actually. I think it was Kirk. It was Kirk. I was calling it the Milky Schmear, and Kirk Edwards said, I prefer it. I think Silky Way sounds better than Milky Schmear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kirk.
Well,
I
whoever
gotta
came
be
up with
honest.
it,
I can't take
I
credit
loved
for
it.
it. So
and I got to be honest with you, this is the first time that I'd ever tried it, and I'd never heard of the Silky Way or the Schmear or anything. And again, Chris and I were in Colorado, and we had just gone over this beautiful pass called Last Dollar Road. And Chris and I knew we wanted to stop in this area on the way back for a sunset and eventual Milky Way. So we scouted out. We said, okay, the Milky Way is going to look good over here. We've got this road coming through. We'll stop here at sunset. We'll shoot the sunset here, and then we will just have everybody hang out and wait. And then we'll shoot our blue hour photographs, and then we will shoot our Milky Way, which is exactly what happened. The plan came together really, really well, and I'm happy to say that everybody got a good shot at this. The sky was so incredibly clear down there, even though we're at a pretty low elevation of around 8,000 feet or something. The sky was very, very clear, and the Milky Way was tremendous. So this represents a couple of new things for me that I have not done in the past. One is I'm always accustomed to shooting wide angle lenses for my night skies and for my foregrounds and even for my daytime work. And this I shot with a 50 millimeter lens, which is a departure for me. And the other thing is I'm either used to really long star trails or I'm used to star points. And this is right in the middle ground. So this is an exposure of, I think, 8 minutes for the sky, if I remember correctly. I can't quite read the screen there.
Yep.
And the Milky, okay, great. And so the 50 millimeter lens really enlarged the Milky Way, so it filled the frame, and it was weird not to see the whole core and the Milky Way going up into the horizon. It was just like boom, right into the core. And it's like, I'm convinced. I'm like, that's it. I'm only shooting 50 millimeter lenses from now on. I'm done with the wide angle lens. It posed some problems, as you can well imagine. If you're trying to get star points, the exposures are very short because of the extended length of the lens. And so I just said, you know what? I'm just going to let this go for about 8 minutes. I think I may have tried a 4-minute one as well. But the first shot was actually made at dusk. And I think this is a really important technique to grasp onto for shooting the Milky Way, is getting that dusk photograph and then blending it in later, because it allows us to add some form or some depth to the ground. But at the same time, I find it very difficult to make it look natural. And so the first time I posted this was on Instagram, and the foreground was nearly black. And I was like, oh God, I wish I could go back and repost that. So I was glad to have a chance to put this up again, where I reprocessed it and made the foreground a little bit more illuminated. But the thing is if you make the foreground too illuminated, it looks really quite false. And so, for me, this was a personal achievement in that I feel like the foreground looks natural with the sky. Even though they were shot, an hour and a half apart. So the foreground shot was made at dusk. Luckily, I had a car kind of running through it. That was great. And the exposure was long enough that, because that's, a couple of miles there of car. The exposure was long enough for the car to make it all the way through. And then, when it came to the Milky Way, I've got both Starry Landscaper shots, for that series. And I've got straight up Starpoint Milky Way. But after I saw this pop up on the screen, I thought, oh, I love this. It's silky, it's blurred. There's star trails in it, but there's color. And then I was just, I loved it. And so I'm very, very happy with this. So again, a lot of personal firsts for me on this one. So yeah.
gorgeous.
So cool. And it wouldn't be a Tim shot without, of course, you did some pretty masterful magic wand Tim Cooper post-processing skills on both of these images. Hopefully you didn't spend as many hours as you did waiting for the cars to come through the pass again.
I don't have a problem working in Photoshop. I quite enjoy it, and it's time consuming to get it really right. To make something look good on Instagram is one thing, but to make it look good enough to be blown up on a wall, when you're doing that kind of blending together, it takes a lot more work, you know. So for sure, it was a couple hours, but yeah.
So that's so. I know a lot of us, you know, celebrate the end of the year by making either a book of their trips, travels, adventures, or the year in review, or make a print. I always try to add a few prints, you know, into my exposure sort of rotation in our Brooklyn gallery. What do you guys think? Are you making some posts? Are you going to do some? Are you going to print any of these?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I just got I just got an email from a student that showed me a big print that they had made and put on their wall. And I was like, gosh, I'm inspired to print again. I can't remember the last time I actually made a print, you know? And so I've got to get this, big beast of a printer up and running and unclogged and yeah, make some prints, but it would be nice.
Nice.
Just open the top and pour your wallet in. No,
it's gonna take like $100 cartridges just to unclog it. You know, it's been so long, or a couple $100 rather.
So something interesting, I think, I wanted to point out about these 10 photos. Just for kicks, I went on Instagram to see what our 10 most well-received photos of the year were.
Right, okay.
And there is zero overlap. So the 10 photos that people who follow us like the most, we didn't pick any of those as our 10 favorites.
Whoa.
Yeah, but you know, I think, but that goes to prove that it's like as you as an artist, any overlap between what you like and what your audience likes is purely a coincidence.
Yeah. It's also, you know, it's funny with both, you know, Chris and Tim especially. You guys sent us a lot of Instagram images from the workshops. Tim, yes, you did send that one of the dollar. What is it? The Dollar Trail.
Last dollar.
Last
Road,
yeah. But you guys both chose. You both had geyser images or, you know, Neowise images. Sorry, geyser images, and then Chris, you had the what was it? You the Neowise you posted, but the other one you didn't. Oh, the Mobius. You sent ones from Alabama Hills, but neither one of you actually submitted those. So it's you guys taking the time to pour over as well and really see. And obviously, some images are favorite during certain times, and how we either are being a little bit more contemplative, retrospective, what have you. It's nice to see those 5 stars that hold true throughout that year and more years, right? A true classic can stand the testament of time, or are ones just really of the moment right now and just special. You just caught me at a sentimental moment that I love Red Hook Brooklyn or something like that, you know, that you catch me, we catch us. So yeah. It is, I love that you called it silver linings, you know, yes, this is stuff, but I think again, it was, I took that to heart, and to look at those silver linings that we found in our images and in our experiences this year, because it has been a whopper of a year, unlike any that I think any of us have ever experienced at any age, you know.
We made it,
and so to find those silver linings, and to celebrate them too. You know, definitely.
You know, I just want to add into that, Gabe. Not to cut you off, but I really did need to cut you off. You know,
you saw I was fading. I was fading. It was like the energy was over.
You know, we were talking about wrapping it up when we were having one of our group conversations, and I was just saying how, you know, how thrilled I am to have you guys as friends and extended family, and that reminds me that, you know, one of the huge silver linings this year is really the family that we've grown, you know, with National Parks at Night. You know, I think about all the sort of more personal emails, you know, back and forth between our customers that go so much beyond just you know, hey, the workshop is canceled or whatever, you know. And it just reminds me about how you know, this family has sort of stayed together through all of this, you know. And right, Matt, you know. And so I just want to thank everybody that's a part of our extended family at National Parks at Night. Just it's great to have you, and it's really heartwarming. So,
Round of applause for the NPanners.
Yes. For you. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody who tunes in, who writes us, people who attend workshops, people who are going to attend workshops, we appreciate you.
Indeed.
Yeah. And we want to see your favorite night photos of 2020 as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
right before we went on, Martha posted a couple of hers that she's got a great, Gabe, I don't know if you saw it yet. She's got a great one of the Comet from Sloss. She was able to use
Cool.
her relationship with us and the fact that we've done workshops there to actually get in and do a night shot of the Comet there. And we've seen a couple other people post their favorite photos of the year. So keep them coming. We want to see them. We want to see everybody's silver linings from 2020.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, you can either post them on our Facebook page, or if you're in our alumni group, post it there, or just tag us. So we'd love to see it. Thank you so much. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Ready for a long nap. But our plans for 21 are too big for that. So I just do the 7.5 hours and start over tomorrow.
So the silver lining duck down pillows.
Nice.
No, we definitely, again, like I think, yes, again, thank you guys all. It's been wonderful to really grow this community, this family of people online. You know, a lot for those who got to go out and have adventures with Chris and Tim. And a little you know, you guys are really, really fortunate. You know, and we think about that our alumni workshop, all 5 of us were at, you know, at the beginning of the year before any of this. You know, but the one night we could all shoot was winded out. You know, so it's so funny. But it really has been so amazing to share all these online things with you guys, whether it's here on YouTube or Instagram Live, or whether you took an online workshop with us. That's really been just so heartfelt to see your support and the growth of that. And yes, we have some very good stuff planned to kick off the new year.
Stay tuned.
See, when are we announcing that? Next week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right.
A couple weeks.
Stay tuned.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Check your NPAN social media every morning, and
there you go.
We'll have something to say soon.
Yeah.
All right. You guys loop me in on it too. I just know there's something to happen.
Yeah, we'll let you know. Hang on afterwards.
You just said be there.
All right. Well, thank you guys for a year. I was going to say a great year. For a year.
For a year.
And we'll see you next year, and it's not too far away. So don't party too hard. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Okay, party really hard because we freaking earned it. So.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, happy New Year, everybody.
Can I do a quick tomorrow
Instagram
night?
Live?
Tomorrow night, Instagram Live, before we leave, a very special guest, an old friend of National Parks at Night, Jill Waterman. For those of you who are familiar with Jill Waterman, she has been documenting New Year's Eve for a long time. We'll get to the nitty-gritty of it for a long time, since Phil, let's just say that. And so we're super excited to have her, and I think that's the perfect person to have on the 30th, not the 31st, because you guys get your backlit champagne glasses ready or whatever. But Jill will be a wonderful inspiration. It's we talk about doing projects for a week, or not a week, but a project maybe takes a couple months, a year, maybe a couple years, but hers has been almost quite a bit. I don't know if half her life or what, but it's an amazing project. She's traveled all over the world, so super excited. Join us tomorrow, 8 p.m. on the Instagram Livers.
This is on the 30th, right? Tomorrow, right?
That's tomorrow. The 30th.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, yep. 1:30. Okay, good. I'm posting it. I just threw it in the chat there.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's Jill's book.
And there is, yeah. She
Yes.
had one of the early books on night photography. It's a really amazing book. Lance is in there. Troy is in there. A bunch of other people, and that was sort of a great. It's a great night photography book because she shows off artists. And really, she's been a wonderful curator because she's also an editor, a writer, and a photographer. We'll talk about some of those other things, but it's really, I wanted to obviously spend most of the time showcasing her photography skills because a lot of people know her more for her curating and writing. So, yeah, it's a great book and a very film heavy book. Look at that. Oh, phew. Wait, Mel, do you have Tim's ebook? Can you show us the PDF? Have you not printed it out yet?
Right here.
All right, now we're being silly. And fun.
Well, so good to see everybody out tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
you so
everyone.
much.
Happy New Year.
See you soon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Now we all wave for 30 seconds.